And that child is feeling so peppered and so overwhelmed, they don't do anything. And you think they're lazy, but they're terrified to do something wrong. Are you hearing them? Are you so worried?
Thank you for choosing this Well Chat. To support future episodes, consider purchasing a Freedom Art Mat or vegan leather journal at freedomatthemat.com. We're a nonprofit dedicated to improving the lives of women globally through wellness education and appreciate your support. Now, on to the conversation. Hi, everybody. It's Olivia F. Scott with Freedom at the Mat, and welcome back to another edition of our Well Chat podcast. So this episode is for women who are caring for children who will one day attend college. So essentially, this is for every woman whose children in your sphere, whether it's children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, cousins, have not attended college just yet. We all want our children to succeed in life. And so many women carry, often quietly, the pressure of guiding our children to college journey. The decisions, the finances, the expectations, and the emotional weight of wanting to get it right sometimes are overwhelming. So to help with that today, we are joined by the one and only Shellee Howard. She is a college strategist and author of How to Send Your Student to College Without Losing Your Mind or Your Money. She's also the founder and CEO of College Ready. Through her work with thousands of families, Shelly has developed an approach that prioritizes not just acceptances and scholarships, but clarity, reduced stress, overall family wellness. So if you're a mother or any woman that is navigating this stage or soon to be, this episode is here to remind you that you don't have to lose yourself in the process and that you and your family can be well as you work towards college entry. Hello, Shelly. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Olivia.
This particular topic, I feel I've had many friends who have made it through this part of their lives, but it's always been very, very stressful. So can you just begin, before you start helping our moms listening today, will you share why you're so passionate about college prep and what got you started in college prep?
I'm happy to share. So first I have to mention I am a mother of 4. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and I even raised a Italian exchange student for a year. So I love teenagers, and I always have. I think they're the most amazing people ever. And so as a mom, I did not want to let down my children. To be honest, that's how this whole thing got started, and I took it to a whole nother level. I never intended it for it to be my 19-year career, for sure. It all started with my firstborn. He came home from 8th grade and said, "Mom, I know exactly what I want to do. Will you help me?" And I'm like, "What happened to school today?" I was totally floored. And he says, "Yeah, I want to be a brain surgeon. I want to go to one of those Ivy League schools, but I don't know how to do it. Will you help me?" And talk about like your heart fluttering and your mind wanting to explode. It's like, of course I can help you. And then he leaves the room and I panic. And that is how this whole thing on college preparedness started as a mother of 4, because I knew I needed to get it right for them to be successful and not in debt. And I did not want to use my retirement to pay for their college education. I wanted to enjoy their last 4 years at home with me and the family and really have that cohesive family unit. My goal was that they would come home from college Thanksgiving and Christmas. So if it's chaos in the house and stress and naughtiness, I'm thinking they're not coming back. And that was my motivation.
So thank you for sharing your backstory on this. You come to it very authentically. So you know that many mothers really feel the pressure to get it right when it comes to their children's future. Everybody wants their children to live well, and sometimes not to be dependent upon them. That's one of the. But what's the first mindset shift that you recommend to parents, mothers, guardians to be able to reduce that pressure?
Having a plan is all you need for the mindset shift. Going from, I don't know, I'm overwhelmed, it's expensive, it's competitive, it's overwhelming, to, I'm not worried about this. We have a strategy. We know exactly what needs to be done. Now we're just completing the steps to get it done. So it goes from a place of out of control to feeling like, you know what, we've got this together. We can get this done. And it's going to be a joy to watch you grow and explore and learn. And we're going to do it as a family. And it's a beautiful thing when that can happen.
Well, let's talk about planning, right, Shelly? Because I recall as a younger woman, I was much younger. I did not have kids of my own. I was helping my aunt who was raising my niece, who was not college educated. And I was trying to navigate FAFSA. And I've done it a couple of times to help them get through this process of managing the FAFSA and all that. So when you talk about planning, can you break down to us in a tactile way what plan actually means and what it looks like, and also educate us around how early you think families should realistically start preparing for college? Is junior year too late? Do they start in sophomore, freshman? Give us a sense of what that looks like.
So having a plan means having open communication. And I want to be honest, for some children, that's a problem. That's your first obstacle. There are some of the children, the teens, that think you don't know anything. And so it's hard to have a plan when they don't think you know anything. So my suggestion for step one is connect them with an auntie, a grandma, a mentor. Get them with somebody who they will communicate with. That's number one for the plan. Number two, when to start. Every child matures at a different age. My firstborn was all in by 5th grade. He knew he was going to college. He knew he wanted to do something to make people's lives better. He knew. And so he was, come on, Mom, what's next? What's next? What's next? My second, not so much. My third was like, yeah, let's go. And my fourth was like, I don't want to ever move. I love it here. Why would I have to leave? And so 4 very different plans, right? So with my firstborn in 5th grade, we toured Harvard for the first time. We were visiting family on the East Coast. And I said, you know, why don't we grab an ice cream and go walk around Harvard campus? And we did. And he was like, this is so amazing. It's like Hogwarts. And so he was so in awe of the campus that that's all he needed. He now had the desire to make this a reality. And so the plan has to start with when the student is intellectually curious. That's when the plan starts. It could be in 3rd grade. It could be in 10th grade. When they start to ask, well, after high school, what's the plan?
Got it.
If they never ask that,
that's what they're going to ask.
Yeah, then you need to be the adult and realize they're not wanting to face that they're going to adult. And it's our job also as a parent or a nucleus family to help prepare them to launch well. And so that's what we're talking about with a plan. Either they're going to graduate high school and stay at home on your couch and play games and hang out and eat your food and drink your drinks, or they're going to go off to college, or they're going to go off to a trade school, or what? Military, right? But if there's no discussion of what that looks like, there is no plan. And that's the first thing I let families know is I don't start off with, what college do you want to go to? I start off with, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to buy a car once a year, or do you want to buy one once every 20 years? Helping them get a mind shift of the kind of lifestyle that they're hoping for. And then I can lead them through, well, if you want to do that, then probably you're going to need a 4-year degree to be a doctor or a lawyer or a CPA or an engineer, or like there's no other option for some of the careers, right?
Right.
For other careers, they may say, you know what? I don't even like school. I want to build things with my hands. I want to take things apart. I want to put them together. Great. That's a great discussion for their future. But by not talking about it or assuming they don't know, it doesn't move the needle at all. They just stay in the I don't know. And now they're 18 and they don't know. And that's not going to help anybody.
So do you have any insights on what healthy preparation looks like for a household, especially without overwhelming it? I think I have a few friends of mine from Mizzou, of course, college friends, and I've watched them get their kids into school. And I mean, they had binders, they had folders. There was a level of overwhelm and over preparation. But then I would say, is there such a thing as over over preparation. You are launching your child into the world. So perhaps there really is no judgment around over preparation, but do you have a sense of what it looks like for healthy preparation?
It's so important. And again, it goes back to the child. If you have a child that has their backpack by the door the night before with all of their supplies in it, you don't need to prep them anyway. They are intuitively, you know who they are, right? We all know who they are. But then you have another child that has paper spilled all over their room and they have dirty clothes everywhere and they are a hot mess.
Right.
They need somebody to teach them the life skill of you put things in a planner, you keep them organized, you have an agenda. These are life skills they're going to need to adult. That it all comes down to parenting and preparing your child for the future. So it really is more about the child than it is about the preparation. And then the other thing is there's certain families that say you have a choice. You're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. Which of those three are you going to be?
Yes, yes.
Right? And that is a real thing that I deal with all the time. And the student doesn't know any different. Remember, that's their parents and that's how they've always been raised and that's all they know.
Yeah, I've taught quite a few of those students. I taught graduate at NYU and undergraduate at Loyola. And I was very nervous about teaching undergraduate. But anyway, the undergraduate students, I would say about 60% of them were students that I could tell were just pushed off to college and really didn't have any idea of what they wanted to do, but they were told they had to go to college. Now, luckily, because I teach marketing and advertising, my students weren't in these fields of like, trying to be an engineer or a doctor or something like that without having any real interest. They were kind of more soft skills people who talk for a living or, they want to be a lot of them want to be influencers now. It's a whole other issue. But I could tell, like when I said, what do you want to do with your career? They're like, I have no idea. But this does lead into a question that I'm very curious about around how can mothers and guardians distinguish between supporting their child to be who that child is supposed to be and projecting their own fears or expectations?
So that's such a beautiful question. And I wish every parent asked that of themselves because that would be really helpful, but it doesn't work like that. So what I recommend is step one is you focus on what are your child's gifts, talents, and advocacy. That's the focus. If you're focused on what their gifts are, their talents are, what they advocate for, you will soon see those are not your gifts, your talents, or what you advocate for. And if you don't align with that child, which they're all going to be different, then you are staying in your place and you are coaching or mothering or mentoring them as if they're you. And it's not going to go well for one of you. It could be a battle. It could be a parent gets super frustrated or a child just finally says, I am not you.
Right. No, I love this. I love the gifts, talent, advocacy. And I hope that people will take a listen to this and that they will really distinguish themselves between themselves and the child. And I think of a couple of things. I think about Khalil Gibran quote from the Prophet, where he said, your children are of you, but they're not yours. A lot of times we see children as our possessions and we should have control over them. They're of you. They're not yours. And I always think about my mother, who was just wonderful to me. I was a child who was making all types of phantasmagorical stories around dolls and all types of, she was like, you're gonna be a writer. You're going to write a book one day. You're gonna be a creative. And when I finally began my career in advertising in Chicago, she says, I would have never dreamt this. This was not even available to me when I was coming up, especially a Black woman of color from the South. So she was able to see her child and her gifts and push me out there in a way that she didn't really have the insight into, but she knew she wanted more. And the other story I will share is there was a young lady that I mentored in New York, and her mother had not gone to college. And she knew that I was the mentor and said, Olivia, do you mind helping Ayana get into college? He wants to go to Buffalo State. Me and my family, we have no idea of this process. She likes you. She trusts you. Can you help? And I remember I was much younger then. I didn't know anything about much FAFSA or anything, but I sat down and we did the paperwork and we got her the application. And I appreciate that mother trusted me enough to ask me to help her family. And we got her into Buffalo State and she graduated and everything. So I agree with you on several couple of points. If it's not you directly, can it be another person in the sphere that can help? But then also, even if you as a parent can't envision it for yourself, can you just see your child? And then you said the gifts turn empty. So the other questions that I have for you, I'll just have many questions for you, but how would you advise families to deal with comparison culture? I feel like social media has made it so ridiculous for us to live just basic lives now, lives that are authentic to ourselves. We have all these unveiling parties that we're going to go to university and all these things are happening on social media. So what advice do you have for families who are dealing with comparison culture as it relates to that pressure for children's decisions on the next school?
That's a hard one. What I would tell you is get off social media, but that's probably not what people want to hear. I've chosen to pull myself off of social media because I found that it was more toxic than it was helpful. And for those people who want to reach me, you have my cell phone, call, text, email me, but I just don't want to put myself in that position. And my oldest son pulled himself off when he felt that it was he said, it was hard to compete with everybody's best day. And he said, Mom, as hard as I try, I can't beat everybody's that one best day that they post on. And he said, so it made me feel that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't as good as. And here's the kid who gets, a full ride to Harvard. And if he's feeling like he's not good enough and he's struggling with his mental strength and what that felt like for him, then I can only imagine for an average student how that pressure must feel to them. And so if you are refusing or your teen is refusing to go off social media, the next step that I recommend is really talking about the academic fit, the social fit, and the financial fit of their future. And so they really align. If a family makes under $200,000 a year, they can still get into an Ivy and the Ivy will pay. So all they have to do is worry about getting into there and they'll pay the whole payment.
How so? Do tell.
So Yale and Harvard, if you want to actually look at the article, it's from each of the schools. They strictly put it out there. If a family makes under $200,000, we will pay for everything, including housing. So that's what I mean. So when people say, Shelly, we can't afford college, I have a really hard time with that. There are 10 colleges that all you have to do is work at. They're not free,
Get it. Mm-hmm.
right? There's a lot of different ways of doing it. And so last year, 2026, I had a student who was worried about money. She ended up earning $422,000 in scholarships. She had a 3.8 GPA.
So it was just finding the opportunities and applying and doing well in school.
It was hustling. It was hustling. It was she said, I'm going to go to school. And if my family can't afford it, I'm going to figure out a way. And so we helped her to understand, here are your 4 buckets of money. Here's where we're going to, based on your profile, here's where we're going to go get the big money. And as soon as she realized that she could earn it regardless of her family, like the world opened up to her. I tell parents, if you go to a job, you show up on time, you sit there, you don't do anything, and you leave on time, you're not getting a raise and you're not getting a promotion.
Well, let's talk about what you do with College Ready, right? Because I want to know and I want you to be a resource for our community who may need you. So walk us through what College Ready does. And then very specifically for moms and guardians who are worried about the financial burden, if you could also share some practical strategies that they can start using now to reduce those college costs, like what you just mentioned around the young lady who got the $422,000 worth of sponsorships.
Yeah. So College Ready was established. We're on our 19th application season. So I've been doing this through COVID, a long time. Put it this way, my oldest just graduated as an orthopedic surgeon, and I've been doing he's been in upper college for 15 years. So I've been at this for a very long time. And it's important to realize that I was a single mom navigating this. And I didn't
mention that.
Yeah, so I didn't have the resources that I could just say, we'll just write a check.
Right.
I was in that situation of, I don't know how we're going to pay for it, but let's go figure it out. And so first I want people to realize that even if you think somebody can pay for it, they may not. I want people to really understand that more than half of the students in the Ivy Leagues are receiving some kind of money. It's huge. Harvard has $53 billion in endowments. They can give away college for the rest of forever and they would be fine. But they only want the best of the best. So guess what? Do you want to be the best of the best?
Mm-hmm.
So it then comes down to desire. So I tell students like this, college is a business. Don't think for 1 minute it's not. So the important thing to realize is every family has the opportunity to go to college regardless of what your family does or doesn't make. When my son was going through this process, my firstborn, I was a single mom. I had no idea how in the world I was ever going to pay for one child, let alone 4 children. And so I had to figure it out. And I approached it as a business. And that's what it takes. You need to realize that they need your money to stay in business. There is no college if there is no student. And as soon as you start to realize, just like buying a home, buying a car, whatever you're going to buy, if you approach it in the same manner of educate yourself, look at the comparables, and look at what will be your strategy to get accepted and how will you pay for it. Are you going to use independent scholarships? Are you going to use merit scholarships? Are you going to use need-based scholarships? What's your strategy? If it's like, well, let's just apply and see what happens, that is not a strategy.
Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy.
No. And so that's what I want families to understand is it's about preparation and planning. It's kind of like when you take off on an airplane and they have a short runway versus a long runway. Airplane on a long runway, you have lots and lots of time. It's easy, no stress. You watch an airplane go straight up and your heart just wants to jump out of your chest. So it's the same idea. Do it. I tell students by 8th grade, your child should be planning for college. 8th grade. You can start applying for college scholarships in 4th grade.
Based on what, Shelly? I mean, based on what?
Based on there are scholarships out there that are, do you have a 4th grader that wants to go to college? Why? They write an essay, there's money. There's a scholarship right now, $10,000 if you're a vegan.
Wow.
You could be a vegan?
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of money.
So how do you guide with your college-ready work? Tell us more about how you guide families in balancing, the process of applying and getting scholarships. Tell us more about the work that you do there.
So the reason why College Ready has been so successful is we start with the student and we're very, very focused. College is just the stepping stone to adulthood. It is not the end game. Is we want to help your child prepare for that career, that life they want. So step 1 is we help them figure out who they are. And parents, if you think your teenager knows, I want you to look them in the eye and say, who are you? They're going to look at their phone. And if they don't know, how are they ever going to apply to college where they have to pick a major? It's mandatory now. You cannot go liberal arts, undecided, undeclared, hope it happens kind of thing. And so if you don't do that work, what if they apply to a school that they don't even like the major in the first semester, and now that school doesn't have what they really want to do? Now you have to transfer and you're at this all over again and add an extra 0 to the cost of college.
Right, because you wasted some time. So what are the biggest misconceptions that parents have about school? Well, I feel like I'm going to go back because I still don't know, and I want you to articulate for our audience, how would you work with a family? So if I had a child right now that was in the 8th grade and I said, Shelly, I need help. Little Lisa over here, I need your help. Walk us through your process.
So step 1 is we set up a complimentary discovery call. We want to find out, does the student want to go to college? Do they even know? Because we don't want to take a student who potentially doesn't want to go to college or they just don't know. We want to make sure there's a good fit. We don't take every student because if it's not a good fit, I'm not taking anybody's money. That's not part of my core values. So once we determine, yes, they have a desire, they want to go to college, the next step is we need to help them figure out what they want to do. That has to be so important. And it's not as simple as what do you want to do? Because they're going to be like, I don't know. We first set them up with community service, having them serve their community, doing something they think they want to do. So your example, as a journalist, right? Young journalist, I would say to a student, when is the last time you wrote an article about an event that you cared about? I've never done that. Why? Why haven't you? You just told me you love journalism. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do for a nonprofit and get them exposure?
Right.
So do you see how it's more than just what do you want to do? We need to help them figure it out. So we do it with service hours. We do it with leadership. We do it with extracurriculars. We're helping them explore safely with a strategy of how many service hours do I need? Can I just sign up and feed the homeless even though I'm terrified of them? Or do I just become a tutor because I'm smart? Colleges don't want you just to be a tutor because you're smart. That doesn't tell them anything about you.
Right.
They want to know, you say you want to be a journalist, Olivia? Show me proof.
Right.
What have you done, Olivia? Have you been on Yearbook? There's an idea. Have you been on maybe the anchor for the school news?
I did all things, but go ahead.
Yes, exactly. And so, but students, they don't think about it. They don't know. And so the first thing we do is we help them articulate what do they like to do? What are they good at? What don't they like to do? And let's go explore and get a yes or a no. That's the freshman year. It's all about let's give it a try. If you don't like it or you fail, okay, great. Let's just keep moving. But by the time you're a sophomore, you better be getting some clarity.
Okay, so you really are almost like a therapist for the children. Maybe
A little bit.
You're facilitating. You're kind of a facilitator of dreams, a dream facilitator.
Some would call us a life coach.
A life coach. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so all of this is where you get the genuine essays and college applications. Everybody else is running around doing this, check this box, doing this, and they still don't know what they want to do. And now they have an essay. My mom made me go feed the homeless. That's all they got from it.
Right.
That's why so many great students, academically, high GPA, don't get in and they're floored. Is because the college doesn't know anything about them other than they know how to study and take a test.
Got it.
So what College Ready does is we package the student as if you were marketing. If you did advertising, it's the exact same thing, right? We're taking what is the benefit of bringing you to our school? Why would we bring you to our school? What are you going to give them? How are they going to benefit? And then all of a sudden, they start to be a connection to this major, this career, this essay. It's a whole package. As if I was building Nike, I'm just building a lot of young, super smart, high energy students.
College ready.
College ready.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Just a few more questions for you. So what are some signs that a family is approaching the whole college entrance process in a way that may lead to burnout or unnecessary stress?
And that's the one I was talking about, chasing the boxes. I met with a student yesterday. The mom was having a hard time breathing. She was so overwhelmed. And she's like, okay, so can you help them with an internship and a research paper? And can you make sure that this is done? And can you get them this award? And can you do this? And I was stressing out. I'm like, why would you do that to a child? And she goes, well, that's what it takes. And I'm like, no, my son didn't do a research project. He didn't do an internship. He had 7 full ride offers. So what's wrong with that theory is it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I hope, do you offer free counsel parents, even those who don't work with you, pay, perhaps on your social media or somewhere around like myths, like myth busters? Because I would imagine that there's a lot of information out there. And even though I am educated, right, with an undergraduate and a graduate and as a professor, I don't know if I know the rubric for how children are evaluated to be accepted into the admissions. So to be able to debunk some myths out there that you have to have this and this, do you have information that's just out that they can check?
Absolutely. If they go to my website, collegereadyplan.com,
Beautiful.
There is every frequently asked question, every myth buster. I give away, I have 2 best-selling books. I give them away like I'm giving away a business card. It's all about putting the resources in families' hands. I do podcasts at no cost. Like, it's all about how do I help families?
Yeah.
But you have to also remember that the more I give away for free, the more I'm learning, people do not value it. It's a really weird thing. If it's free, they must think it's just not very great. And so I now have a $27 program. If you can't afford $27, talk to me, right? And
for your child.
Right. We'll have a discussion. But what I have found is when there's an exchange of money, there is a huge difference in mindset of both the child and the parent.
Correct.
And that's what I want families to understand is I will do everything I can to give them free resources. But at some point, they have to see the value and they have to step up and step in.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I'm 100% with you. I've learned that over time, right? That when you're offering things for free, there's just no value associated with it. However, you also know that sometimes as you're building trust and credibility with people, you need a little nugget from you to be able to chew on it and say, oh, and then when they come back around, they'll remember you. So as people may not be ready to bite off the entire enchilada, if they wanted to go get some bona fide information from a verified source such as you around like this woman who was like, you got to do this. And like somebody saying, no, you don't have to do those things. These are the things you need to do to get that from you. So I got it. But to that point about that woman, bless her heart, right? There's so many women who are juggling careers, caregiving, and personal goals. Do you have recommendations for our listeners and those women about how they can stay grounded while navigating a high stakes milestone for their lives and their children's lives?
This may come as a shock to some, but I say listen more than you speak. And what that means is your child is telling you what's going on. Are you hearing them? Are you so worried that have you done this and have you done that and have you done this and that and this and that? And that child is feeling so peppered and so overwhelmed, they don't do anything. And you think they're lazy, but they're terrified to do something wrong. And so I tell families, genuinely ask a question. So tell me, why do you want to be a doctor? Why do you want to be a journalist? Without judgment, and listen, and then say, so what have you done to prove to yourself that that is something that you want to do? And then listen, instead of peppering them with do this, to do, really think about what do they need and how can I support them? And if they are clueless, I say, so it sounds like it might be helpful if you had some wisdom. Would you like to learn the rules of the village game?
Yeah. And see, it's like the wisdom, you're selling wisdom, which is just beautiful, right? And if you could give one piece of advice or one piece of reassurance to mothers who feel anxious about this stage of life, what's one piece of reassurance you could offer a mother listening right now?
I would definitely say it is possible, regardless of your economic status. I think that's super important for all women to know. I also think that your child is growing up in a very different world than you did. And to try to put them back in your world is just going to cause a lot of friction. It's not that you have to go into their world, but there's a bridge. And that bridge is communication. So if it's not you, get somebody to communicate with your teenager whom you value their advice, right? That's important.
Right.
That is the step. If it's not you, that's okay. You are not meant to be the best at everything. And it is okay to seek out other experts. It could be somebody in your church. It could be somebody in your women's group. What it needs to be is recognizing it doesn't have to be you.
See, Shelly, I just want to pause there because that is the word, right? I mean, you shared a lot in this conversation, but that's one that I really hope people will listen to and take heed to because I believe I've never been a biological parent. I've been to my niece and nephew, but not biologically. And it is parents often feel insecure about their need to be everything to their children. And if the children have to go outside of what I've seen and just the mom and dad, there's this insecure, I got it. And I'm like, no, it's okay. okay. So you're giving them permission right now to be like, listen, if you don't got it, you can't figure it out. There is someone else in the family. I even figure it out. We're not saying you're not smart, but someone who has a relationship with the child as well.
Yeah. And it's important, right? And nobody gave us directions. Nobody gave you, it's like playing Monopoly without knowing any of the rules. How do you win? That's what is being asked of parents. There's a lot of things. If you don't have the instruction book, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. And winning is so relative, which is why winning is just like the way you might want to win when you end your Monopoly versus the way you may want to win. It's all very different. It's not one way to do this thing.
Absolutely. And that's what I want parents to realize is it takes a village.
Yeah.
It really does. And lean into those people who have the gift that maybe is not your gift because you're going to give your gift to somebody else. And if we stay in our lane and are living our gift, that's how I got into College Ready. It was just, people are like, you speak teenager. My kids can tell you anything and they will not listen to me. And I'm like, I have teenagers. Mine don't listen to me either. So it's important, right? To honor ourselves and give ourselves that opportunity to be like, it's okay.
Yeah. And I have one friend for certain. I'm going to make sure to listen to this and maybe give you a call. So as we close out, I just have two final questions for you. And one is, what are the biggest misconceptions that parents have about scholarships and financial aid that you wish more women understood? But it's a misconception. That's something that's completely not true.
That you make too much money. That's the number one misconception. Regardless of what is your economic, everybody feels like they make too much to get free and they don't make enough to put food on the table. So they're in this middle section and they feel frustrated that it's against them. It's that way. I don't care. I have multimillionaires in my program and I have need-based in my program. That's one thing they all have in common is they don't feel like the system is fair to them.
Okay.
And,
that's not true.
It's
you can make a lot of money and still get scholarships and financial aid.
Oh my gosh, there's so much money. Yes. And it feels good for your teenager to earn a scholarship. Even if you could write a check, it feels good to get that. Wow, I'm getting recognized for all my hard work. That's a beautiful thing to give your child. You can't write a check for that.
Got it. Thank you. I hope they come to you to get more insight. And the last point here is this is focused on the women, not the children. Many women in our community and just even beyond our community, when their children are going on to college, they feel this sense of rebuilding their lives and redefining themselves, but they also have this profound sense of loss. How can this transition to college become an opportunity for women to personally renew themselves versus feel
so important. I remember I was dropping my son off at Harvard. I'll make the story very short. But my son, he looks at me and he goes, Mom, why aren't you crying like all the other parents when we were saying our goodbyes? I said, son, if you were at home on my couch doing drugs, you would see a lot of tears. I am dropping you off at the most amazing place for you to get intellectually stimulated and become the man that you are meant to be. I go, why would I cry about that? Will I miss you? Of course I'll miss you. But you're not gone out of my life. This is just a pause. And when I got on the airplane, I fell to pieces and I cried and it was, all of that. But in front of him, I was like, you're doing it. And then to the loss part, some people feel it no matter what. I did it with all four of mine. I was so incredibly proud that I'm like, this is not about you. This is about them when I launched them. And then I'm like, now what am I going to do? Where's my pivot? How am I going to live the next part of my life? And I looked at it as an exciting journey of I get to reinvent myself. I've been mom for so long. Let's go see what else I'm good at. And so I looked at it as a really positive opportunity for me to be in that next place. So I didn't have that problem, but I do have a lot of families that call me and they seek coaching on how did you get through that? I didn't.
Well, thank you for being an exemplar. Thank you for taking this on. Thank you for using your gifts as well and your interest in the teenager, the universal teenager, to help us all. So ladies, as you move through your day, we want you to hold on to this truth. Preparing your child for their future does not require you to abandon your own well-being and all of your money either. I hope this conversation with Shellee Howard has given you not just information, but a sense of confidence in this life phase that you're in or going to be in soon. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another woman who may be navigating the season as well, and take a moment for yourself, even if it's just one breath, one pause, one small act of grounding. You got this. You can learn more about Shellee Howard and College Ready in the show notes. The website is collegereadyplan.com for more details. So may God continue to bless each and every one of you. As always, thank you for being here. Ashe. Hi, everybody. Again, it's Olivia. If you enjoyed this episode in which we talked about getting your child ready for college, be sure to subscribe to Freedom at the Mat, our well chats. They are meant for you. And also feel free to share it with others and to like it. So, see you soon.
Perfect, but I'm not done. I'm on the healing journey with each day of the rising